Hey guys, I'm Austin.
And I'm Grace.
And we just released our song Paradigm on Ophelia Records. And we're just going to talk about how it came about and just some backstory about the song and what's to come.
I went into your Discord because I was looking for production advice, honestly. I had visited a couple other channels and got some really good feedback, but was kind of looking for more than just praise, which was really nice, but wasn't quite what I needed. And so, somehow I landed in there, and you had what's the tab for, is it production?
So I have feedback and...
It was feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I posted some vocals, I think, in feedback. And they were just demo. They were really raw and not very processed because I didn't know what I was doing. But
which was good, I feel like, because I could hear you. It wasn't masked by anything extra. It wasn't over processed or...
Yeah, I didn't actually know that most of the vocals that we hear are processed at that point.
Really?
I thought it was mostly just getting it right. So that's what I strived for.
I mean, that's a great, it's a high bar, but if that's what you're doing going into it, and hitting it, then that's awesome.
I know.
Yeah, it's you can't go wrong.
Yeah, so I don't remember what I posted that made us work together, though. Or
I don't remember specifically. I know you posted when you're close to completion, Scythianism.
Yeah, I think that was kind of what probably started it off, because I think I got an email from you not long after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was I want to hear more stuff.
And then I sent you horrible music. I was here. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't what it could have been.
I vaguely remember it. I remember it being a great showcase of what to more so what your vibe is and also what your range is. Because all I was really hearing was the demos you were posting in Discord, which were few and far between. But I'm honestly kind of surprised that I stumbled upon them, because people post stuff there all the time, and I try to check when I can. I think someone tagged me.
It was you should work with Austin.
And usually I disdain those kind of suggestions.
Really?
I get a lot. So I feel I get a lot of fans. I read a lot of fans that are you should collab with this person, this artist, and it just feels kind of impersonal, and it would really just, it's okay, it's a cool idea, but I could also collab with anyone. So where is the criteria? What is determining actually something that brings value to me too? Clearly they'll get value out of it. Who knows for how long though? I feel so many people suggest collabs because it's a novel thing, and they're just excited. They would just want to hear their two favorite artists work together. But someone suggesting you as a vocalist to me, that's kind of a different story, because it's not it's complementary just by nature. Our arts they're complementary. It's not we're both producing and doing the same kind of music. So it was different. So I felt more open to that. And I was kind of blown away, hearing how I was a bit in disbelief. I was wait, so you sang this and wrote this and produced it? Because it was really fucking moving, and it's a gem. It's rare to get that.
That's why I was there.
Out of the blue, you know what I mean?
I was very nervous to post that. I wanted it to be the best that I could give before it being subjected to having people comment on what I could fix. Because then I feel emotionally I was ready. I think with some of just my vocals, it's the idea isn't formulated enough. And I think the other part of it too is I was motivated to be in that Discord because I think for vocalists, it's really good to become familiar with a lot of production so that you can communicate clearer. If you speak the same language as they do, or you can understand like the fine details of what's being done, you can appreciate it more and also dial into it a lot more emotionally. Your writing is going to become better. And the place that you write from is going to be more authentic because you know what's going on.
Yeah. You understand it a bit deeper, and you can work with it. And also, I mean, it's kind of like understanding music theory, which, like, initially for me, I was being such an intuitive based, ear trained musician for a big part of my childhood. I didn't think in terms of theory. It was just what I felt. And then learning theory, it's like, oh, there's structure and rules, which kind of messed me up for a bit just because it was overwhelming. But then they started to merge together. And it's like, I can now explain and also go even deeper with the intuitive ideas that I have. And I think knowing production deeper, you could speak the language so you can communicate more effectively. But also just having for instance, like having a sense of like what conflicts. If there's an instrument that is conflicting with your range, for instance, either to navigate that or communicate like this should, maybe there could be more of a balance rather than in terms of mixing or in terms of composition too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which I found really useful because when the little bit of feedback that I gave you was like some EQing and like a
reintroducing the chord,
reintroducing that one chord, that major chord, and so and you immediately understood what I was talking about and implemented it. I was like, yeah, you get it.
It's hard not to, though. I feel like you explain production pretty straightforward. At least with that kind of thing,
right.
Definitely do. Because I know you get really deep into it. But
yeah,
that wasn't necessary, I think, for the project I was working on. Because Cytheorism's track it's not that complicated. It's not that large of a project. I think
it's pretty sparse.
I think at most maybe like 50 tracks.
And most of them are vocals. Yeah. Okay, I was about to say.
I feel like I aim for at least 30 vocals. Like that's usually what I go for. Because it just gives enough, like you want to have supporting harmonies and like your main melody, but you also want to throw in like some spicy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like ad-libs are fun.
As a vocal driven song, it's really like it's a place. It really feels like you have the Foley and you have just the way it evolves. It feels like being in nature and revealing itself throughout the song. It's a really beautiful song, and there's nothing clashing. It's like it's sparse and open and so rich, like nature. It feels like it's really reflective of like a natural environment. Yeah. So anyway, I really connected with that, and during that time this was 2022, I think.
Yep.
Like kind of later in the year, 2022.
Yeah, I released it in December.
Yeah. And then I think, so then I hit you up pretty much around that time for like to propose collaborating. And during that time, I was working on Bridges Between, which is my last album that I released, also on Ophelia. And I was working hard to meet a deadline to complete all the tracks so it could be just in on time and released on released on the date that we chose, and also for vinyl production and everything happening, because vinyl takes such a long time. So I was feeling the heat on my end, which was, sometimes it's good. You have that, kind of need that fire, that motivation to like complete the product and not overthink shit. So and there were some songs that, like, I think I was like at 8 songs, and I knew I wanted a couple more. And so I hit you up and I was like, hey, I'm working on finishing this album. And I sent you like 3 songs, I think. And asked you if you were interested in, if any of these resonated with you.
Yeah, they were all different too, which was really nice. Super appreciate that. Absolutely send vocalists more than one demo, please.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, I feel like it's kind of common sense. But also, it was my attempt at, like, there's a part of me that, like, I don't want to always be so narrow, like, have such a specific intention, particularly when it comes to collaboration, because I think it dishonors a lot of the potential unseen, or it dishonors a lot of the unseen potentials that could arise and recontextualize everything.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to consider that too. Like, maybe once we start working on whatever the song you chose of the bunch that I sent, that it would inform like how the whole album would resolve. And
I didn't pick Earthwave initially. It was the Psytrance song.
I didn't send you it initially either.
Earthwave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was like completely unrelated, because stylistically it was entirely different than anything on Bridges Between. Because Bridges Between is like, oops, all bangers. So, and I guess I heard your voice as so just like like capable and diverse that I guess it was partly my ignorance, but also ambition, that I assumed that it would be a more transactional, linear
really?
progression. I think because that's just kind of the headspace that I was in too. Like, finishing up an album, I was very like in left brain, or sorry, I was very much in left brained territory.
Yeah.
Like, let's get this done. It's like I already sketched out a bunch of stuff, and I can hit the ground running, like, once there's like a vocal, which it's so ironic how it actually panned out. Because it's literally the polar opposite of that.
I know.
So, this was January 2023, and
it's a special month for me.
You sent me a vocal for one of the songs, which is a Psytrance song, which isn't done. I haven't released it. It didn't become part of the album, but
it'll become something. It's really good. All of the demos you sent were really good.
I'd like for it to. It's funny. That song has been stuck in my head all day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
I keep hearing it. But anyway, not to digress, that you sent me a vocal, which was really good and really like dense and complex, and had this urgency that matched it well, but it, what tripped us up about it?
I think it was the cadence. I think I didn't really, and I should have, I didn't really research the types of vocals that are appropriate for trance songs like that. Because I feel like for trance, there's a lot of long, drawn out notes being sung, and
it's true.
They tend to be more simplistic, like lyrically they can be more complicated or just like more expressive, but typically I hear it's less wordy and more melodic and drawn out.
Yeah.
And what I gave you was just, I think, too fast. Like, there was just too much going on. It was a solid vocal, but it would have fit, I think, like a bouncier track or something that was a little more grandiose, I guess. I
hear what you mean. Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the right fit for that, which was like it was a little frustrating because when you pointed it out, where you were like, I don't know if this fits, I was like, I can hear that it doesn't. But like they're two separately good things, which can be kind of frustrating.
I know, because you don't want to abandon either of them.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it was dense.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because trance is like, it's fast, but it's also a little detached too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like bass house, which is technically slower, but it's like you're feeling each beat deeper. Trance is almost like something you're riding on, as opposed to like in.
Trance feels dissociative in a way.
Yeah.
That, like, especially dubstep doesn't. Dubstep, you're like fully engaged. Trance, you can kind of just zone out, and I think that's what it's meant for. Like, it's meant for pondering more than I think certainly dubstep is.
Yeah, it's less visceral. Dubstep is like very physically engaged, and it's like I feel like even experiencing it and dancing to trancier music. And I feel like a lot of drum and bass is also like this too, even though it's really fast. It's something that it's like relaxing. It's almost like it's hypnotic. I mean, that's why it's called trance.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And I feel like it's not really it's not territory that I explored for a long time. And I think just where we were musically was this kind of dichotomy between like we wanted to deliver something full on.
Oh my God, so true.
Really substantial.
Yeah.
And like we kind of just got ahead of ourselves with that.
Oh, I absolutely overcompensated. Because I was like, oh, holy shit, I'm working with you. Like, I have to give you something worthy. And I think that led to a lot of overthinking on my part.
Yeah. So I have the chat. I could bring it up.
Yeah,
and
you
just
should.
see where
Absolutely.
it went. I took screenshots of our initial conversations. January 20th, 2023. I said, I have a few things in the works that will be on my next album on Ophelia I can send over. Also, we can start something new too. Did you send me some demos a while back? I recall you did, but I can't find the thread.
Yeah, it was an email.
Yeah. You said, I'd love to hear it a long time ago. I'm not sure where either. Oh, email, I think. Either works for me. Truthfully, I tend to shine more when I'm involved in writing, but I don't care as long as it's a banger.
It's true. That's still true.
I said, awesome. I'm excited now. Okay, here's a bunch of things. And I sent 3 songs, and yeah, you picked the psytrance thing. And so said, I'm already getting ideas, so I could start writing a top liner for one and send it over. And I seem to have kept saying, also, I want to say no pressure if you're not feeling it. I'm definitely open to starting something fresh if it makes more sense too.
That was good. That was established so early.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't remember that.
I feel like despite that, we had to see it through. Like we had to see like if this trance song actually, like we had to see.
Yeah.
You know? I'm
wondering what compelled you to send Earthwave after you did hear that vocal.
Yeah, so this was the next day. Oh no. This was in March. I think what was going on was I was just really busy wrapping up the album and kind of piecing together other stuff that was like more complete. And so having songs being like completing the album, I feel like there was less urgency to have our collaboration or to make our collaboration be something to like serve an extrinsic purpose, like to fill this space, this gap that the album needed to be complete. And so as I was completing the album myself, that was kind of satiating that need or that expectation for our collaboration to be part of that. And
took a lot of the pressure off.
It took a lot of the pressure off. And this is the next thing was March 21st, 2023. Sorry about the delay. I've been working on finishing my album in time, but I made some progress I wanted to show you, see if you're feeling it. There's no solid arrangement yet, just a bunch of phrases that work well together. And this was taking the vocal that you sent for the trance song, and I slowed it down a little bit and fit it with this other really kind of, I don't know, I don't even want to like define what the genre is, but it's more on like the slower,
it's
chill, yeah, kind of
chill
steps, like I have a couple other songs like Watership and like The Ether. They're like chill steps, sigh ambient. But for me, this was a song, and I called it Earthwave, and I don't know, I can't tell you why I called it that.
Because it sounds cool.
It's a cool word.
Cool word.
I love just coming up with cool words and names. I have like a huge list of just cool like word combinations.
I have that too. I have like a notes app that just has like, if I find something that sounds like not typical or like I haven't heard before. I mean, Cytherism.
Yeah.
That's an example of one. Like, where do you see that? And it's spelled so weird with like the PSITH.
Yeah.
And so like, how do you even pronounce this word? But I feel like anything like that is immediately gripping.
Yeah, there's an intrigue because it's not generic. I mean, sometimes generic and super on the nose is nice too and serves a purpose, but I feel like a lot of my songs aren't super on the nose anyway, and neither are yours. Like we write kind of more metaphorically and symbolically and mystically.
Yes. Yeah.
So I called this song Earthwave, and it just had it was kind of like a halftime garagey beat, a little swung.
Do you remember when you wrote it?
I think I wrote it about 6 months before I sent it to you.
Oh,
so
really?
and it was just like an 8-bar loop. It
Really?
just had like 2 melodies, yeah.
Wow.
Which ended up being the first like when the beat drops in the intro of Paradigm, that's pretty much verbatim what it sounded like, but transposed a little bit. So I overlaid your vocals over top of that, and I just thought it sounded really good. And you said, I definitely like where this is going. And then you said, and that leads me to wanting to completely redo the vocal.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And oh yeah, I was listening to Dreamstone by Sorrow, which
you were listening to Sorrow?
And I think that's when I introduced you to that album.
Yes,
too.
it was transcendent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carpe Noctem is just something else entirely. I haven't even heard all of Sorrow, but pretty much everything is just absolutely moving and very like, it's very spiritual, but it hits the places where it's not just entirely uplifting. It hits like some of those darker places. And that was really, really inspiring. I listened to that that EP, like so much. It like changed something in me, genuinely. It's a beautiful EP. But it was very much a huge inspiration behind changing the vocal.
I think for me, I mean, at least Dreamstone, 'cause I used to listen to that album like a decade ago, like daily. That inspired me in a lot of ways. I mean, I wouldn't have made songs like The Ether or Watership if it weren't for hearing that. Yeah, because it's like I mean, for the people that haven't heard it, not to like give it away, but it's like it's really dynamic and atmospheric, but it also has a really solid groove. Like he's a groove master.
He totally is.
He like takes the UK garage halftime flow, but like to the next level. It's so organic and like dense with Foley and articulate, but not fatiguing.
Clashes. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I felt like when I started the Earthwave sketch, it was that feeling that I get from that is like there's no rush. It's just like I'm not thinking about what this is supposed to be. It just feels really good to just like have a set of sounds that really sing in their own range but don't conflict with anything. And once you get like a simple, solid, like baseline progression, really just a drone of 2 notes. That's that's what the intro is. And then a melody over top of that like low pass saw wave lead melody. It's like this. Oh, it's so like lush just as is. I don't need to inflate it. I feel like if I tried to make it sound louder or more maximalistic, it would lose its power.
It felt really nostalgic to me. Like it felt like the 2010 to like 2013 kind of intro.
Yeah.
That you'd hear in some of the more ambient EDM. It was super nostalgic.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed a handful of people also commented that too.
Yeah, that made me happy. So I was like, it's confirmation that, because I mean, that style of music, that's what inspired me to even want to be doing anything for EDM.
Really?
Yeah, that whole era. That's when I was really into it. Monster Cat was kind of the first thing that led me on to really noticing that kind of EDM. That and what is it? Liquicity?
Yeah.
Also had music like that. But yeah, that era was just wonderful for discovery, but also like
that's what I was gonna say.
Things were still being discovered, but there was a lot of emphasis on, I think, just like, I feel like, and this could just be me, but I feel like a lot of that music feels like the artists were classically trained in an instrument. There's a lot more focus on natural instrumentation in that music than I think there is now, which isn't like, it's a neutral thing, but I just really love it. It's awesome.
It felt like a Renaissance period in music where all of these different styles and influences were coalescing in a new way that didn't really have any rules yet. And I think with Monster Cat, as an example, because there was EDM before that and bass music before that, but I feel like Monster Cat really brought to the table a diverse array of like music that wasn't just bangers. It was melodic and it was
touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a big reason that they are revered and set apart from like the other typical labels. I mean, they were doing things differently as a label, and their artists were too. Yeah,
it was an eclectic group.
And I think for me, Bridges Between was a very maximalistic. It is all bangers. It is very melodic and like harmonically rich too.
It is.
But I remember now, I really, after I was done wrapping up that album, or not even done, but like close to wrapping up, I was so ready. I was like, I do not want to make any hard music. I do not want to make any bangers. Well, I just for the rest of this year, I just want to make chill shit. Like, I need this so bad.
I need to chill, and the music's going to reflect that.
So immediately, that was like an intrinsic calling that I was fulfilling just by, here's a song that's not going to be on the album. It doesn't need to be. I don't want to do music that sounds like that right now.
Yeah, understandably. How many tracks are on Bridges?
10.
Yeah, that's a lot. Of course you didn't want to.
I was chipping away at that for a long time, too. Yeah, after you said you wanted to redo the vocal, you said maybe this song should be about slowing down. I want to slow down both lyrically and melodically, so Earthwave is super appropriate. I said I 100% feel that, too. I'm all about it. April 10th, you sent me a message that said, here's the first draft. My voice is a little weaker in the verses because I recorded it today and it's allergy season. But the general melody is there. Figured we can make changes to the lyrics / melody as necessary depending on what you think. I still obviously want to record more, but didn't want to proceed until I got your thoughts on it. And then you sent me a verse and a pre-chorus. You pretty much sent me like half the song.
Wait, did I send chorus too?
I believe so. I think the screenshot is cut off, though.
That's funny.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Yeah, that's typically how I work. I don't think I would have sent just a verse and a pre-chorus and then not a chorus.
Yeah. No, and my response was fucking chills. Yo, on second listen now. This is so good. Wow. I have a couple melody tweaks that I think would tighten it up slightly. I love the lyrical theme too. And oh yeah, and then you said, please throw ideas at me. I was very much referencing your remix of Piercing Quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. That was when I really first heard your music, I think. I had heard like Crossroads, and obviously everyone's heard Snowblind, and a couple other ones, but what's the one with the Australian artist?
Troves.
Yeah. Journey. The Journey, yeah. I think The Journey and Crossroads, I knew that I loved those songs, but I didn't really attach them to you because I just didn't really know you then. But when you came out with Piercing Quiet, because I found that through Instagram, and it was just so beautiful and soft and atmospheric, very, very earthy, but in it like gave me imagery of like lightning and rain, and that's also when I first heard it. It was thunderstorming, and it was beautiful. It was like that awesome purple, like intense clouds. I think we were also having like the heat storm, so there was a bunch of lightning crackling in the sky, but it was really quiet.
It's quiet, yeah. Oh, that's like so perfect.
I know. And then it started. I remember being outside and listening to that, and having headphones on, and it started raining, and I stayed out for like at least 2 hours, and I was like soaked, but it was just so beautiful. I like didn't want to leave the moment. Yeah, wonderful.
That's like kind of perfect too, because like the song has rain in it as well.
Yeah, it was just so befitting. I was like, wow, this is some transcendent music. I would be so lucky.
That's the kind of stuff, like giving yourself like space and time to go in or like meditate on music and have it connect. Like I feel like anyone can do this. The opportunity is always there to connect with something deeper and subtler, and who knows how it's going to inform. You can't predict what those kind of experiences, one, are going to be like, and two, how they're going to influence your trajectory in life too. Who you connect with, what your tastes become, and what that leads you to. It's just really serendipitous because it's also, the song is it's so on the nose.
It totally is.
With that theme and phenomenon too.
That's also, I think, just where I'm heavily inspired to begin with. I love being able to create a scene lyrically.
Yeah.
And I think that song achieves that really well too. And I heard you doing a lot of that. I feel like yours came from, like, the lyrics that I've had heard were a little more, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but less about like building something organic, like, and earthly, and more like the metaphysical and just very mystical and otherworldly kind of themes lyrically, which is beautiful, but I wanted to blend both of those together.
I know. And this is kind of the first time, I mean, at least for me, that I feel like I really like went in on that and we merged those together.
Yeah. The intention was very there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's connecting on like a conceptual level. Like it's like returning back to nature, returning back to home, the natural flow. Yeah. Earth. Waves. So yeah, you sent me that and I was just was like, yeah, this is it. We can't turn back now. It's already too good. And then this was over the course of, let's see. So yeah, I played with a little, some melody alterations, and then also, I'm like, sorry about my unflattering voice for like the vocal suggestion. And you said your voice is great. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then that made me want to use my voice as a lower harmony layer, which I did and is in the song.
I'm glad for that.
And then let's see. Yeah, the song is taking off.
I love the energy, how you can see it went from like us trying to feel out what the other person was doing to being incredibly excited and having the direction. Yeah. Once that happened.
Yeah, I kept sending you updates, you kept sending me updates, and we were just like on a roll. Like
I felt high on that.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was like it became my top priority musically.
Me too.
And it was perfect to have like bridges between be complete, and it was almost like there was so much momentum in creation, but it needed to be a countering or a balancing energy. Mm-hmm. It needed to be something slower and cooling. But because I can't just like stop. When I'm on such a creative roll, I can't just stop, because then everything else feels like it's moving without me. And I mean, the more I regularly get in that flow, just the more life feels like it harmonizes. So I didn't want to stop that, and it felt like it seemed like you were feeling it too, with how I was like surprised. I was like, damn, you're delivering these amazing vocals and these solid ideas as consistently and also professionally too. Like it was like I'd get a Dropbox notification that you shared a folder with me of the new vocal tracks, and I could just like drag them right in, and it's like I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to tune them. they're just spot on.
I was so meticulous too.
It's so appreciated.
I think I sent you raw vocals. I don't think I was pitching them until like the final vocals.
No, you weren't. But they didn't need to be.
Oh, that's nice.
Like they were sometimes
there's always going to be spots to fix, I think.
That was kind of they were so like just how everything was evolving. The song itself was really organic. Like the instrumentation is really organic and kind of loose anyway. I was not concerning myself with like getting meticulous with surgical EQing or correcting things. I really just kind of let it sing. There was so much in the composition that was I guess making up for anything on the technical end that wasn't right. But I think when you kind of just allow that to be without getting, it's easy to get stuck in the left-brained, I need to fix everything technically, and then the composition suffers because of that. Mm-hmm.
I think you have a real talent at oscillating between that, though, like knowing when to be left-brained and when to be right-brained. Yeah, which takes like a lot of practice, and
it's taken me a really long time. It's taken me a long time to recognize that a lot of the times that when I feel like getting too technical too quickly, it's an anxiety response. Mm-hmm. The composition is not fulfilling me enough, so I'm trying to compensate for a sonic quality.
Does that ever happen in the reverse too? I think me, it happens in the reverse.
Really? Like,
yeah. Well, because I'm not as technically knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. And so I will lean super overcompensate and making sure that something is solid in its chords and melody and like the tone of my voice and just the lyrics too. Because I know that is more of my strength than my technical ability with production.
Yeah.
So I absolutely
Would you say to the point of overthinking it or overdoing
Yes.
it?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same thing. It's anxiety based.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes just the simplest melodies are the most evocative.
And powerful. Yeah. Definitely.
So I feel like we kind of kept each other in check. Like every time you presented a new vocal, it kept the right-brained, it kept it emotionally fresh for me to springboard off of with musical ideas. More so than just, okay, we need to technically refine it now. And it never needed to be in that stage. It like how we were approaching this song, once we got into that flow, it became so clear that not having that pressure of there being a deadline or there being really any purpose for the song, like externally, like I didn't know if it was going to be a single or what we were going to do with it, or I wasn't thinking about labels. I wasn't thinking about even how it would be received. The thing was, I didn't even really have the mental capacity or the bandwidth to entertain that because I was doing that so much with Bridges Between.
That's interesting.
It almost like allowed me to have this space of where I can creatively breathe without having that pressure to make it something from an external influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was therapeutic.
For me, it was the same thing, but not because of creating an album that needed to meet like certain criteria. It was really because in the past I'd worked with people who their only goal was, okay, we got to write it this way because that'll reach a wider audience, or we have to write it this way because we'll get more money, or it has to sound like this because that's what's popular right now. And I think having enough of that early, I got frustrated with it. And when I started taking music a lot more seriously, I kind of just vowed and had like a certain stubbornness with wanting to make something heartfelt consistently. And that was in touch with wherever I was emotionally at the time, because I really believe that that's the best art that I can give. I think if I'm trying to people please with my music, it just doesn't, I could technically make a song, but I don't think it would hit the same way as going into it with just pure expression of genuine emotion and feelings and thoughts, and not constricting myself, making myself claustrophobic with like barriers or outside influence, because the creation process needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I can properly protect it if I'm considering its outcome too heavily. I need to be present with it in order to write like that.
Yeah. We're not machines that serve, I want to say we're not machines that serve a purpose, but really like we're not, when we're so output focused rather than processed focused, we lose what it means to be human. And I feel like both you and I were so used to being output machines for so long.
Yeah, it was a lovely break. It was like, wow, it can be like this.
For both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really inspirational and like exciting. It almost felt like making music for the first time again.
It did for me too.
Like I felt like I could get back in touch with that carefree childlike exploration, but with like actually the tools and the knowledge.
The expertise of an adult. Yeah.
I know. That's like, it's so powerful.
I know,
That combination is so powerful. Like, and it's deceptive. Like, kind of ironic that it's the opposite of what we see and what we're shown so often. The loudest influences and the greatest pressures are always trying to not even voluntarily or intentionally bring us away from our true nature.
Why do you think that is?
It's a deep.
That's a big question.
It's a big question. The way that I see it, in general, at least the way that I'm seeing it right now, is shame perpetuates shame. Like, it's vulnerable, and it's tough to admit that you don't feel like you're enough. And everyone in some way feels that or will feel that or has felt that. And so often, I mean, I think a very blatant example is bullying. Like, you have people that are putting others down people put others down because they can't they feel like they're not enough themselves. So it's almost like this masochistic solidarity, perhaps. That's one way to look at it. But in this case, in the case of like the industry and also capitalism, it's so common and it's so normalized to feel like we're not enough and that we need to achieve, and that's where our value comes from.
Yes.
But we have inherent value, and we are lost at seeing that because we're born into an environment that is shameful. It's putting that on us.
Yeah.
And it's a way for people to temporarily, like, whoever is putting pressure on us, they're doing that as a way to temporarily take the pressure off of themselves. And what's really happening is it's just hot potato.
Oh no. I think another aspect of it is that everything that we see is perfectly curated. And so it's easy to lose that childlike innocence when you think that you have to go into it making it perfect or making it like what's hot at the moment.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel like a lot of what we're hearing was actually like a lot of the final products had that element. I honestly think a lot of them probably did.
Had the element of
keeping your inner child there. But it's lost because we only hear the final product. We don't hear the progression from beginning to end.
Plus, perfection is subjective, too.
Absolutely.
And, like, if we already have a preconceived, like, positive bias toward an artist and whatever they put out, you know, maybe they put out something that is, like, janky, but we are hearing and experiencing that art through this lens of, this person's amazing, they can do no wrong, they're perfect in my eyes for some reason. We're going to recontextualize that jankiness and that imperfection as
that was intentional.
It was intentional and stylistic. Masterful, and
what a genius.
How do we recreate that? We don't do it by emulating them. It's something more intrinsic. We do that by, well, first of all, accepting that whatever it is that we do is going to be unique and valuable and different than anyone else, and it's supposed to be. And allowing yourself to, I guess, bathe in your own value and your own humanness, imperfection, uniqueness, and have gratitude for just being able to express something in the first place, as opposed to comparing it and judging it and finding reasons why it's not right and it never will be right, or like why you're doing something wrong. Things to just continue to feed that shame. That's the trap.
Yeah, that was, I think, why it worked, was because I think the things that we felt shameful of, we kept reassuring the other person, like,
Yeah.
No, that slaps. Keep it.
I know. Throughout this song, throughout all the songs, I was like, I don't know. I kind of went this weird direction. I don't know how you're gonna feel about it. Just a warning.
It was always awesome.
It was always awesome, and it was just like made it work. Like you made the next things that I created
could hear it
work.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
You would introduce something new and I'd be like, we just made it work. Yeah. Because I think there wasn't that pressure. And there was also, it also got to the point, like once we saw that, like, okay, both of us we have the skill and the work ethic on lock. That really created a space of trust. Creatively, where
it just builds on itself.
I didn't feel like I ever had to go more than halfway as far as meeting you goes. Like I always felt like we met each other halfway.
Yeah, it was very reciprocal.
And because of that, there was nothing that was pushing up. There's nothing that was triggering that shame or hesitation or like in either of us. And anytime that there was some questionability, the other person just recontextualized it.
Or just like direct communication about it. You didn't dance around telling me if you felt that something needed to be changed, which I'm super grateful for, because it's hard when I get a project and I'm really excited about it and someone just tells me, oh, it's great. I mean, it might be, but I feel like I want to hear more of their influence almost. And because I trust it. I trust their influence. And with you, it was exactly that. I just trusted that whatever you were going to tell me was going to work. And at the very least, try it. Because if it doesn't, then we know. I think it's so much better to be experimental and creative and try those things and then find out, okay, well, no, we can go back to what we were doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like not entertaining it. But it was always fruitful every time you gave me some kind of correction or just a different idea. It was really nice.
It was constructive all the way through. I'm trying to like recall the feeling of it. Everything that you just described, it lowered my threshold for feeling like it was okay to just be and to communicate.
I think it was partially projection. It's like, I need that.
I did need that. I mean, there was so much, I think, self-criticism throughout making the album, the Bridges Between, that it was like I don't even have the tolerance for like beating around the bush. This is the first thing I felt. I'm just gonna say it. And every time I spoke the direct truth, whether that was like either a suggestion to you or was allowing myself to explore new territory, it just worked out. Somehow it just worked. And it really highlighted how much like we waste energy overthinking, or we waste energy doubting ourselves.
Yes.
Like our first, like, and the more you do it, the more that intuition gets louder and louder, and the more you can trust it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's all about like letting yourself continue to feel.
Yeah. And I think like outside influence has a lot to do with it too. There can just be things going on in our lives that cloud it. And it can be hard to get out of that and really just get grounded with what's actually happening in the moment. And also sometimes it's shameful. Like there's been times where there's music that I want to make because I'm inspired by something, but it's not working because it's actually not where I'm at emotionally. I need to create from a place that's true to what's going on. And because I think if it's from the other place, it's it's not as clear because it is clouded. It is quite literally clouded.
We're dishonoring our present true present state by doing that.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in life too. Like, not just through my career. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of remixes anymore. I'm super particular. I need to. It's almost silly. Like, I almost have to play this. I can't think about it like a. I can't be motivated by money. I can't be motivated by numbers or fame or opportunities, like external opportunities anymore, because I mean, at what point is chasing that ever going to be enough for me? It just has always spread me thin.
It's endless.
And I feel like it's ADD or something, but like the shiny new object syndrome is damn real for me. And
it's so addictive.
I just want to keep, it's like, oh, here's a new thing. And with a new artist that I like, I like this style. I like the idea of this. And I just want to like go full force into it. And then I wake up the next day and I'm like, whoa, I'm like neck deep in things that I can't even connect with now. Mm. I mean, I think it takes a lot of repetition and experience and wisdom to know what the limit, like know where you really stand and recognize how excitement is intoxicating you.
Yeah, if you're not having fun, what's the point?
It's like you need to know what opportunity is going to be a fuel that provides a slow burn.
Mm-hmm. Getting in touch with that is it does take repetition.
I want to talk about what the song means, what the song is about itself, because I feel like this is about to. We're already kind of bridging that.
We're going there. Yeah, instrumentally, was there anything that stood out to you? Because for me, there was a lot going on in my life at that time.
I mean, I want to know about that. For me, it's hard for me to remember specifically what was going on when I first started writing it. Mm-hmm. Once we started working on it together, there's definitely some stuff I want to talk about that was like kind of new happening in my life too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me it was really exploring letting go of control, because I lost a lot of things. I had a life that was just so. I was following a life that I thought I was supposed to follow for a while, and it siphoned me. And came crashing down, like in a beautiful tragedy kind of way. And that kind of suffering that came with that made me prioritize what really meant something to me. And a lot of that is listening to your inner child. A lot of it comes down to that. And I was seeing that, like, I was noticing that I could find happiness with so, like, little. And that became really big. I was really into Stoicism at that time, and doing things that required a lot of patience, like building my pond, for example.
Yeah. That
took months of research, and it takes a very long time for the pond to, at least 2 years really, for it to like be established. And being happy with the slow progression of that and knowing that it was something that was fulfilling was just so wonderful. I was also going to festivals more, so I was more connected with music, and I was seeing this theme of I can be completely okay on my own, and I don't need people to fill that in for me or things to fill that in for me. And it's accessible to everyone. Everyone can do that. And so that's why it's so on the nose with it being about a paradigm shift. But I also wanted to honor, because lyrically I talk about the desert, and that's where I grew up. And that was something when I was younger that I hated. I didn't actually like where I grew up. And like the sand dunes are really cool, but the surrounding area is so sparse, and I think it's like 1,500 people in the town that I lived in, and
That's empty.
And it's like the biggest store down there is a Walmart, and it's an hour away.
Wow.
So it's really, but I was ashamed of it. Like for so long, when we had moved away, I really wanted like the big city things, and we moved a bunch of times, and it's interesting how I kind of yearn for that place now, and so that's what's sort of being described lyrically in the beginning, and I could see what was beautiful about it, and what, as a child, what I really liked about it, and it connected to this theme of not needing, because the deserts are sparse, but they're really not. Like there's so much life going on that we don't see, and I feel like that's reflective of our own internal world. There's a lot going on that we don't see, but if we actually sit in it for a while, there's so much life to be had, like, and to experience. Yeah. And so, and in such small things like the sky being a beautiful shade of blue, or like the moon being full and illuminating everything, like there's so much beauty to be found if you can just alter how you're looking at it. And hence paradigm shifting. That's what that means. But it means it like on a people level, and also on a literal level, like looking for things. Yeah.
Nature speaks when you listen. And we're indoors trying to fill some void constantly with things. Escape. Stimulus. Yeah, escape. Food and drugs and content, and like it's all there if we just let ourselves go out there and sit in it and be part of it.
Yes.
I think the song, what it means for me, it's really reflective of learning and realizing that there's so much that I'm holding on to that's actually doing the opposite of that's actually doing the opposite of the reason why I'm trying to hold on to it. And it's the same concept too. During that time of making that song, something that was really new for me was I was making a daily habit of waking up, and within the first 10, 15 minutes, going outside in the sun, and just walking and listening to music. And initially I was doing it for, I was trying to reset my circadian cycle. Doing it for health reasons.
Yeah, I'll go on my stupid walk for my stupid mental health.
Yeah. So real. It was during that time listening to music and being in nature, and also just moving. That's not really much. Usually I would wake up and immediately I would check my phone and messages, see what's going on social media, and feeling so scattered and so like almost like sick internally from anxiety, or like this pressure of needing to do something or be something, or consume something or produce something, or just too much thing. There's just too much thing immediately. And this was a way for me to just be. And it was surrendering. And it was empowering, ironically.
Yeah, I love it.
But it makes sense, because that's the natural state, though. And yeah, in doing that, I was getting so much more in touch with all of the things that I was not letting myself feel, because I was consuming something in some way or another to really, like, if I really took a step back, I realized, like, I'm just obsessing about like achieving and succeeding in these superficial ways because I don't feel like I'm enough. And in giving myself the space and the time, taking a walk and listening to music for sometimes hours on end. Like sometimes I wouldn't get back until like the sun was starting to set.
I love that.
I'll be out there for like 4 or 5 hours.
I totally relate to that. To where like you're walking home and your feet are like hurting so bad, but you like barely feel it.
Yeah.
Because you've just been processing so much.
Yeah. And I'm dehydrated and like a little.
You have to pee.
And a little delirious, but like just so like blissed out from sun and being able to feel again. That's what it eventually started doing for me. It eventually allowed me to feel deeply, and also my intuition started to come back. And that's also when like once I started feeling these like more subtle things, connecting emotionally, like really feeling the music that I'm hearing. Sometimes, I mean, there were times where I'm like ecstatically dancing while walking down the street. Like I feel so high from just music and just finally giving myself the opportunity to just whatever that may be at that time. If it's like I'm like connecting with God right now through some of this music. Like I can't even feel my body. It's just electrical. Those kind of cathartic experiences got me like in tune again with what's actually true for me, and not just the echoes of other people's voices and expectations on me. That was a part of, even at night, like when we were working on the song after like I was done for the night and made a render, it would be like 2 a.m. and I'd go on a walk and listen to the song and like connect with that in the same way.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be up late until the birds were chirping and you could see like the morning light. Yeah.
It felt super purposeful.
It was purposeful. It
was almost like I kept challenging both of us. We kept challenging the things that we were afraid to explore before, and getting rewarded unsuspectingly by it.
I love that it was both like motivated by exhaustion too, because that is kind of what happens. You get tired of a certain way of living, and that your exhaustion outweighs your fear. Once that happens, then that's when change actually happens. That's when you're able to implement what you're learning about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar phenomenon for a lot of artists who feel like they create their best or most purposeful or most meaningful work in the most challenging times or challenging periods in their life.
Yeah.
Because there isn't any room to ignore it anymore. You can't. It's like...
It's physically impossible almost.
Yeah. You're overflowing. And so the only thing that can come out is what's real.
That's wonderful.
And what's real is what needs to be expressed. It's what the world needs to hear.
Yeah.
It does. It's a connecting force. What we do, what we create, is other people connect with what we connect with in ourselves when we're creating something. The more we can connect with ourselves, the more it permits other people to connect with themselves through the experience of the art.
And the vulnerability.
Yeah.
Of being honest, because emotions aren't shameful. It's just information.
Yeah.
But we associate shame with certain emotions. And that interferes a lot, I think.
It heals that shame. And what I was doing, taking walks and listening to music and having these cathartic experiences where I'm like, there'll be times where I'm just like laying in a field. I am like, am I laughing or am I crying? Like, this is just like pure hysteria. Yes. That is my experience of connecting with the deeper parts of myself that were disconnected for so long. And through the music that I was listening to, I mean, it was music that I believe the artists also were connecting with themselves in that same way. Like once you connect with that, you can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear it very clearly where someone is creating from.
Yeah.
And it's not like a technical or like an elitist or an experiential thing at all. It's just how real is the things that are being felt coming through, and how
we can identify with it.
What do you mean?
If we can identify with it.
If we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, and here's the thing, like people who are operating from that vulnerable place and creating from that, artists that are creating authentic music, get discouraged by the audience that is unwilling to, or just closed off from themselves to being able to connect with that. And we're us artists that are sensitive and creating authentically, really putting our heart and soul out there. If we are taking the feedback from these people who are disconnected from themselves to heart, that's dangerous. That's toxic. We can't be doing that, because that is not a reflection.
Mm-mm. And it's not meant for us. It's okay if it is perfectly okay if someone doesn't resonate.
It's exactly. We shouldn't change who we are or diminish ourselves in order to make us resonate with someone else.
Yeah, if anything, we should lean into it harder, because then it only gets you closer to the audience that's meant to hear it.
Yes.
And it's also, if we do that, if we people please, or we put too much weight in someone, or just like someone disconnecting from it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We can't, if we put too much weight into it, we I lost what I was going to say.
If we're not letting ourselves just lean into what is true for us and expressing that, we're not giving the people that actually don't resonate with us an opportunity to cleanly step away and actually find what they need.
Mm-hmm.
If we're pretending
absolutely.
to be the thing that they want, we're not doing them a service either.
Yeah.
We're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're also leading them on.
Yeah.
Inauthentically.
I do remember what I was going to say. Our own uniqueness that we can give is the greatest gift that we can give. It is the ultimate gift that we can give. We shouldn't go into creating anything or being anything that isn't authentic to ourselves, because it's actually diminishing. It's diminishing ourselves, but it's also diminishing other people's experience of us, and it makes it so that true connection can't actually happen. Yeah, definitely.
It's not up to us to determine how others see us.
Exactly.
And we can't truly predict outcomes, even for ourselves, but definitely not for anyone else's life. Like, we can think that we're doing something by like altering who we are to please someone else, but we do not see what their reality is, and we can't predict the significance or the detriment of what we're doing for someone else. So the best that we can do is connect with ourselves as best as we can.
Yes.
Because that permits everyone else to do the same. And that's where harmony is found. It's something intrinsic that resonates in other people. It's a sympathetic resonance. It's not imposing your energy on someone else's or letting someone else's energy impose on you.
That's not how energy works at all.
No.
It's always connecting with yourself, and it gives the path to being able to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If energy is trying to if you're trying to force energy, try to induce that in someone else,
they can feel it.
There's a resistance. There's resistance, and you're not getting. It's a lossy system. you're losing energy. And what happens when we are connecting with ourselves and sympathetically, like as example, like through example or through expressing authentically, awakening that light and making that brighter in other people, we're achieving kind of like an above unity system, which there is more energy than the sum of its parts. It's free energy.
Yeah.
We're opening that channel to beyond just the physical reality. There's infinite energy in the ether, and by being ourselves, we're channeling it.
Mm-hmm. It's a lifelong thing to chase.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows, and that's what's so beautiful about it too. It's like once you're I feel like that's what being human is all about. Like that's why we are here on Earth in a physical incarnation, because it is about that exploration and that discovery, that like returning to the beginner's mind, like reconnecting with the inner child, because they had it. All children have it. They're all inherently creative when they come out, and it isn't until they're conditioned that they shouldn't be, or that it's wrong, that shame is instilled. And then our personality crystallizes, and then we disconnect from that. And it's a journey back. It's a journey returning back to that. You said, I'm not used to being given this much creative freedom, so thanks for that. I mean, me too.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think it's because a lot of producers have an idea already in their heads, and they want you to execute that. And that's part of a vocalist's job, so it's not something that I disdain. It's a different way of writing, and it's totally valid, and it can create some really beautiful works of art. I just feel like I can't give so much of myself. I'm a lot more limited when I create that way than when it's just when I know I'm being trusted. And I felt that. I felt like you trusted that I would take it in a meaningful and productive direction.
Yeah, I just really wanted to. I can't say I even like could rationalize why. I just knew that's what I needed.
Yeah, super appreciated. Now I feel kind of spoiled though. Like I only want to be approached that way with music now.
I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a great standard, and I also, maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like that's kind of what such an oversaturated and competitive music industry needs. Like that's where the healing and where the real good stuff is going to come from.
I agree.
Especially now. I mean, I can get into the whole AI thing, because with AI, generative music and art, but I think, to me, I know a lot of people are threatened by that, but to me, the experience of the process of like continuing to connect with yourself authentically more and more, they're completely different worlds. It's not even the same game. And I think other humans will continue to find that value even more so nowadays than before, because there is so much dilution from non-human artists. You know, that's not something.
It's muddied everything.
Yeah, it's just output focused. It's just output driven. And hey, there's an audience for that. And maybe that's what's needed for these people that are disconnected, or that aren't ready to connect with themselves on that deeper level.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a stepping stone. That's the silver lining that I see it. But also, I don't feel threatened.
I don't either. Yeah.
Because I can't imagine, like, there's nothing else that can threaten that or take that, because it's uniquely me, as it's uniquely you.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that. I could do it all day. I could do it for the rest of my life. I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing.
That's such a hopeful outlook, which is good. I think we need that.
Yeah. I guess my advice, I'm compelled to give advice, but at the same time, like...
Maybe we should give ourselves advice.
That's... Yeah. I feel like I'd just be reiterating the cliche things that I've been saying. It's like, just trust yourself. But like, I think, yeah, the advice for myself is I want to continue to show up authentically.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucking rewarding.
It is.
Too.
It yields every time. It's like working out. Like, you never regret a workout, right? It's always good for you. And that's exactly
like, why don't I always do this?
I know.
That's always the thought. It's
yeah.
like after exercise or like stretch, I'm like, or meditate. Why don't I always do this?
It's because the initial discomfort, we build a fear around it. And I think also sometimes a story around it being bigger than it actually is. And not worth the result. And what's funny is if we avoid it, we're going to be miserable.
I know. We'll be unfulfilled.
You will be in more discomfort, but just in a different way.
It's like overeating something that has no nutritional value.
Yeah. Oh, man. Endless and addictive, too. Yeah, and familiar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it numbs you out, but like at the end of the day, you don't feel like you still question like, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
That's so real.
It's like, cool. I may be alive, but I'm so disconnected from like, so disconnected on a soul level.
Yeah, it's a scary place to be, honestly.
It is. I mean, I think gratitude is because you can always compare. You can always find something and someone who's got it better, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
But wherever you are, whatever place you are, whatever state you're in, like being able to reconnect with gratitude it's
the foundation for self-love and being okay with not being able to control everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I was going. It's just building off of what you said.
Yeah.
That like my biggest lesson or takeaway from writing and making and releasing Paradigm is you can't control a lot of the external, and that's okay because a lot of what's we can't conceive of what sometimes we think we need something and it's not what we need. And there's so much to be explored that we don't know. And it's almost presumptuous to think that we know all of what we need. So becoming comfortable with the fact that we can't control what's external, but we can internally. We can have discipline internally. That automatically leads to gratitude.
Yeah.
You will just be grateful for what you can do. And it's a lot. It's empowering.
Yeah. It's infinite.
It's infinite.
Just like going outside or being in the desert. There is just give yourself a bit of time to actually sit in it and attune yourself to the new things that reveal themselves in a space that you believed was empty.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with yourself. You got it all already.
Yeah.
We all do.
It wants to grow.
Yeah.
It wants to grow. It's waiting.
I think giving it the space is like watering the seed.
Mm-hmm.
To full circle everything. It's still kind of mind-blowing, but so serendipitous that Paradigm ended up getting released on Ophelia.
I know.
That because it wasn't until we completely let go of that expectation for it to be
be on any label.
Be on any label or have any outcome.
Yeah,
is when it grew.
Yeah,
that was the space it needed to grow.
I remember us both being like, "This, even if this doesn't make it out into the world, I'm so glad that it exists."
I know. I know. The process was just invaluable. Like it's a priceless process.
I was so grateful. I think that's also what kept feeding our energy back and forth. Is that was I was very grateful, but I also noticed that being reciprocated, and that's endless. Like, you can just like, knowing that we can always have that song is great. And that it's evidence of a time where that childlike, that it's possible to achieve that. Because I feel like sometimes I'm so quick to move on to the next project or the next thing that I don't actually revel in what just happened and how miraculous it actually is.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it's just like even us both using Discord and like joining on the exact same day in the same year.
That's trippy.
Is wild.
Like years before either of us knew each other.
Oh yeah. Crazy. But that just makes it like there's so many little things that are just like beautiful, and always like I can always go back to that and be grateful for it and keep it in mind when I'm stuck later. Yeah. That it's possible to get there. Because I lose sight of that when I chase other projects sometimes, and I get stuck in them, and I do get lost and directionless. Or I'm just too exhausted to give, or I have imposter syndrome a lot of the time where I feel like I am not enough. And having this is like evidence that I am. Yeah,
it's evidence. It's like a beacon that like continues to, that we can look back on and see like, oh, this is the byproduct of that process of being connected and of being in, like being present and in tune with ourselves. Like it's possible. How many, like, that potential is always there.
It is. It's possible, and it's always in reach.
Yep.
Always in reach, which is doesn't feel like it is, but it is.
It's just pretty awesome to also have it be a song that it just feels good to listen to. Like it serves that purpose too.
It is wild that it made it on Ophelia too. That you were creating from a place of having bridges between being released on Ophelia, and then you being like, I want to just chill out. I don't want to make bangers right now, and putting that completely aside. You actually allowed it to even become something that would work for Ophelia. Like, that's wild.
I know. It's such a strange connection, because like initially it's like I'm trying to separate from Bridges Between so much, but actually like on the business end of things, the thing that like brought it back to Ophelia was actually because a clause in the contract for Bridges Between was Ophelia gets first dibs on a handful of songs. They don't need to release it, but they get first dibs. Yeah, they get first dibs if they want to release it. And I didn't release too many songs over the past year. I didn't release anything over the past 9 months, but even before then, it was just like a handful of songs. Yeah, there was this. There were a couple dibs left that I figured, hey, may as well pitch the song to them.
I liked how adamant you were with the way that you pitched, though. That you wanted it to like be a cohesive project.
It needs to be cohesive.
Yeah.
I haven't even said explicitly how many songs are on this project.
More.
There are more songs.
There are more.
And chronologically too. How they came about. I've never done anything like that before.
I've also never done anything like that before.
So yeah, I'm I'm excited for the world to hear it. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to our song Paradigm yet on Ophelia,
go check it out.
Check it out. Get your paradigm shifted real quick.
We'll be out here shifting the paradigm.
Yeah, you out here shifting the paradigm. Whoever commented that is great. We'll wrap it up there.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us ramble.
Yeah, for a real long time. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.
We did it.